Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the show. My name is Zoom 108 and today's topic is Deuteronomy chapter 22 verses 28-29. Its meaning and application today by Christians. Part 1. A person and their life partner have a daughter aged 12. They all seem to be nice people and I care about them. As part of letting their daughter find her way, as they put it, she joined the Star Singers this year. You can find the links in the script below. The Star Singers are young Christians from the community who will go from house to tell people about the birth of a certain baby. They usually are accompanied by at least one adult or one older youth. These maintain order and can give them pointers on whether the next domicile has Christian residents, and if not, to consider moseying on to the next house. This tradition is deeply rooted in Western Germany's Catholic communities, where these people live. It is used to further familiarize children with Christian beliefs and practices, as well as to foster a sense of community. Please keep in mind that in 2011, the vast majority of people, around 75%, in the state Rheinland-Pfalz, still identified as Christian. I grew up in the western parts of the state, raised by Catholics who had been raised by strict Catholics, who themselves had been raised by even stricter Catholics. In 1900, the number of Christians in counties where my ancestors lived was well above 97%. You heard that right, it's 97. In Trier it was 97, Wittlich, it's a small mid-sized town over, 98%. Bitburg, you probably heard of, 99%. Brüm, 99%. And Down, another small town, also 99% Christians. Not estimated, actually are not a number pointing at, yeah, there's a lot. That's an actual factual number. The family I mentioned lives in one of the latter counties. Christian tradition is still held in high regard in those parts, which is fine, because every German citizen enjoys religious freedom. For Christians, this obviously means they, as part of their religious freedom as well as of their own free will, chose to adhere to the God of the Bible and his laws. This God being Yahweh, of course. Can a child exercise its free will? Certainly not when it comes to making significant purchases, or getting a driver's license, or exercising its right to vote. Please keep that free will in mind. It has been my experience, however, that Christians occasionally do not mention all the laws written in the Bible when they're talking to their children. Perhaps they forget, perhaps they are unaware of these laws' existence. We have to ask them, you have to ask them, because they are the only ones who know the answer. And Now we have reached the point where the plot thickens. Esteemed viewers, I now shall present to you a play based on one of those biblical laws, the one I mentioned earlier. Please welcome Kevin, the man of the house, Elizabeth, the woman of the house, Phoebe, their 12-year-old daughter, who, remember, had received permission from her parents to let her find a way with Christian faith, and please tolerate my rendition of her soon-to-be husband for life. First, I shall present the play in modern parlance, with a bit of paraphrasing and emphasis for effect. And I shall ask for your forgiveness now. Then I will read the passage from the Bible. Ready? Then let me set the stage. It is a normal weekday in a peaceful small town. The birds are singing, the sun is shining. Elizabeth and Phoebe are cleaning produce to sell on the market. Gavin is still busy in their garden, when another member of the community walks up to him. Elizabeth and Phoebe can hear everything he says. Hi Kevin, alte Bratze, wisst ihr mal, wie ihr Frauenarbeit machen war? Ich bin gerade erst aufgestanden, ist mir eingefallen, ich schulde ja noch einen Fuffi. Ich habe, wie heißt das da noch mal in der Hoffnung für alle Bibel? Ja. Ich habe mich an einer jungen Frau vergangen, die noch nicht verlobt ist. Was glotzt du denn so? Ach, da ist sie ja. Ey, Phoebe, Tag. Hättest aber auch mal was sagen können, ne? Ey, hier, Kevin, alter Saufziege, ja, ist dein Fuffi. Aber du machst ja Hochzeit klar, ne? Unter uns, ey, die war nicht schlecht. Also ich habe noch ein paar Schäkel auf der Seite gelegt. Hast du vielleicht noch? Kann ja ruhig ein bisschen jünger sein. Was klatzt du denn so? Ich frage ja nur. Tschö, Phoebe. Bald ist Hochzeit, dann gibt es Nachschlag. Ne? Kannst ja nicht genug geben, alte Sau. Was klotzt ihr denn alle so? Mann, ey, was heißt die hätten sie nicht alle? If you have trouble understanding German, perhaps that is for the better. Sure, you got the gist. The reason this man is talking to Kevin is described in the Bible, specifically in Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 28 and verse 29. And I quote, "If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found," 29, "then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he hath humbled her, he may not put her away all his days. I have to say it. I do not think a rape victim must marry her rapist and be his wife for life because the rapist paid the father 50 shekels. It's just to clear that up. About that person and their life partner letting their daughter find her way, I definitely do not think, even for 1 second, they would subject their daughter to any of the actions described in this verse, in these verses. However, I would find it reasonable that their daughter is aware of these particular verses. The Bible is what it is. Let everyone find out what exactly, and then exercise their free will. Are there perhaps more instances where women might not be protected as much as some Christians point out? The German Bible translation Hoffnung für alle adds 3 subheaders to Deuteronomy 22. The latter header applies for the quoted verses and reads, Schutz vor Verleumdung und Vergewaltigung. Translates to protection from slander and rape. Does Deuteronomy 22 verse 28-29 protect from rape? I do not see how. At best, it protects from the consequences of rape, and even in that context, the baby has been yeeted with the bathwater, bathroom, and the entire house. Personal opinion now. Rape is the worst crime someone can commit, someone can do to another human being. Keep in mind that murder protects the dead person from all memories. Rape and other sexual abuse often incur lifelong consequences for the victims, as well as their families and friends. The healing process usually takes a very long time. I know this from personal experience. The book we know as Deuteronomy was written and edited around 2,500 years ago, and based on traditions and ethics even older than that. Writers and editors were living in a very different society with very different laws and corresponding context. If you want to find out what Christians have to say about that, please ask them. Preferably in person, not in an online forum where social and spatial distance and possibly anonymity often leads to what I call keyboard courage. You can also ask a priest in your nearest church. I have this to say about context in regard to the quoted 2 verses. 1. If you identify as Christian, it applies to you verbatim. The one you call Savior told you so in Matthew chapter 5:18 and in Matthew chapter 24:35 and in Hebrews chapter 13:8. 2. His daddy done told you too in Isaiah chapter 48 Plus, he warned against changing his word in Deuteronomy chapter 4:2 and Proverbs chapter 30:5-6. Excuse me. 3. If that, for some reason, is not enough for people clamoring for context, I shall simplify. How do the words of an Israelite deity and his son apply to people in a different country, on a different continent, which perhaps yet had to be discovered? And as a bonus, how do these laws apply to people not subscribing to this particular spiritual provider? And as another bonus, how does 25-year-old Asian mythology, bereft of evidence, yes, that is a tautology, but bear with me, please, how does an extremely popular and even more dangerous delusion apply to rational people who do not subscribe to this particular spiritual provider? One more part coming up. Give me a sec. Thank you for your patience. The villages I grew up in had 3 kinds of people. First, Sinos, Christians in name only. They could afford not to show up in church to no social disadvantage. 2, Christians. And 3, hardcore Christians. There also was a 4th group of non-Christians, but they might as well not have existed because no one's paying attention to them, even if they had money. I was born into a Group 2 household, Christians, with Group 3 grand rental units, Catholics with an uppercase C, holding Pope and Bishop in higher regard, true, than any secular leader, even the Bundeskanzler. There's more detailed description in my non-fiction book, Citation Needed, currently only available in German. August 26, English version, hopefully. I always assumed, based on my everyday experiences as a child, everyone wanted to be mayor of Group 1. You know, the Christians in name only, who could essentially do whatever they believed they wanted. I was baptized shortly after birth, went to communion at age 8, and became an altar boy at the same time. The latter was a choice for Group 1 kids. All others had to volunteer. When the priest asked us in 3rd grade, during religious education he himself held in school. It was very apparent to me as a child, but I did not have the verbal skills to describe it. Even the number 3 group, hardcore Christians, were LARPing, live action role playing, that is, all the time. 2 villages of spiritual Stockholm Syndrome people. I was conditioned to believe as well, and I gulped down the Christian Kool-Aid by the bucketfuls, because everyone did it. There was not a single word of criticism, ever. Every day of the week, everyone would sanction everyone else for good or bad behavior, play the game, instant reward, every single day. I knew there were other religions in faraway countries. The first time I realized someone I knew personally had not been baptized was in 6th grade. The first time I heard the word atheist, I kid you not, was in 7th grade. And I read a lot as a child, apparently. Only a certain type of books available in the local church library. Who'd have thunk it? The word atheist was spoken with the connotation HIV-ridden cannibal leper. Someone almost as bad as a Protestant. The next door neighbor was a Protestant. He was tolerated because he married a Catholic but never present in any communal activity. His wife's and her parents' names were mentioned occasionally. His one was not. He went to work in the morning, returned, and spent the rest of the day in de facto house arrest, with occasional strolls in their sardine can-sized garden. Catholics had free rein, even the worst behavior, and there was lots of that, was rarely sanctioned. As long as you played the game, you were one of them. The commandments meant nothing. Group 1 people called the shots. The Bible meant nothing, except when it did. The garden variety applications of rules for thee, but not for me. That is quite some cognitive dissonance for children to survive. A group 1 person I grew up with did the same game to their children, exclaiming that when they, the children, would be old enough, they would be free to choose their own religion. Baptism, communion, firmung, confirmation. Yeah, and then you get to choose. Right? Starting with 8th grade, the carefully woven Christian garment finally was revealed to me as what it is. Beset with more holes than a barbed wire fetishist's woolly jumper. The Romanes were aeonting domus, but I was unable to free myself from the conditioning. I stayed an altar boy until age 20. I know. When I left to join the Air Force, I could not attend church. That's what I'm saying. I went to a town 2 driving hours away, so that's the reason I stopped. I stayed an official member of the Christian Church until after the death of the last grandparental Catholic with an uppercase C unit, even though I had no respect for this bleeping bleep of a bleep. I was 34 at the time I stopped being a Manchurian candidate. At least I was free to go and do all this. The woman married to her rapist would not, if it were up to Yahweh. Thank you for tuning in. Please be safe, be healthy, and I hope to see you next time.